أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. So let's continue from where we were left in Surah An-Najm. So last week we talked about Qab Qawsayn, we talked about the mentioning or the emphasis of Ra'a, Ya Ra'a, Ra'a, so the sights in that journey of Mi'raj. We talked about وَلَقَدْ رَآهُ نَزْلَةً أُخْرَى, and then لَقَدْ رَآ مِنْ آيَاتِ رَبِّهِ الْكُبْرَى, seeing the greatest signs of his Lord. And so we talked about these. So far with verse 18, we are sort of concluding the journey of the Messenger ﷺ. So Mi'raj is mentioned up to verse number 18. Let's start from there. Then the topic is seemingly changing, but the way I was seeing it is as if it is comparing the journey of the Messenger and people are disputing him. Or let's generalize it. There is a prophetic journey, and then there are people who are disputing the prophetic path or the prophetic journey, coming up with an alternative. And it looks like the following verses almost to the end of the chapter is going to be saying, what is it that you're coming against with? Because in the previous portion that we were studying, it was talking about so you remember there was this portion okay. So I'm trying to remember the verse. Okay, let's remember the verse. It was saying that, are you going to dispute him about which that he saw? It should have been somewhere here. Will you dispute with him over what he sees? So we saw that. And up to 18, he keeps mentioning the journey of the messenger. And now after starting with verse 19, now comes, is this what you're coming with? Against what he was telling you based on what he sees, and you were disputing against him. So what is it that you bring forth in your journey? And I'm going to generalize it in today's journey, today's advertised ways of finding truth. What is it? Scientific endeavor seems to be the supposedly best way to find the truth. So liken it as such in your life. What is it out there which is presented as a alternative or a competing path to path of prophethood? So let's read the verses. أَفَرَأَيْتُمُ اللَّاتَ وَالْعُزَّى, have you seen Al-Lat and Al-Uzza? وَمَنَاةَ الثَّالِثَةَ الْأُخْرَى, and Manat, the third, the other. أَلَكُمُ الذَّكَرُ وَلَهُ الْأُنْثَى, are yours the males and his the females? تِلْكَ إِذًا قِسْمَةٌ ضِيزَى, that is indeed an unfair division. إِنْ هِيَ إِلَّا أَسْمَاءٌ سَمَّيْتُمُوهَا أَنْتُمْ وَآبَاؤُكُمْ مَا نَزَّلَ اللَّهُ بِهَا مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ, they are but nothing other than names which you have named, you and your fathers, for which Allah has revealed no authority whatsoever. إِنْ يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ, they follow but a guess, but a conjecture. وَمَا تَهْوَى الْأَنفُسُ, that which they themselves desire. وَلَقَدْ جَاءَهُمْ مِنْ رَبِّهِمُ الْهُدَى, and now the guidance from their Lord has come unto them. These are the verses that we will start discussing today. Okay, so here are, well, maybe I should put them one by one. Again, it starts with أَفَرَأَيْتُمْ اللَّاتَ وَالْعُزَّى. So when mentioning Prophet ﷺ, it was repetitively saying, he is so, he is so, he is so. So we talked about the emphasis about sight. And how does it apply to me? My conviction needs to be based on my observation in this life. You cannot close your eyes and imagine God. Actually, it is makruh. While you're praying, closing your eyes is makruh. Why? You shouldn't be closing your eyes to the existence and trying to communicate with your creator or getting to know your creator.
That said, you're not really looking around into prayer, you're maybe focusing on a single point.
That's right. So you are focusing on a certain point, that's right, but you're not closing your eyes either.
Sure.
So closing eyes as I am trying to get to know my creator is not how it's supposed to be. I mean, when you are, if you would like to get there, it's another issue. But I'm not going to close my eyes. I need to see. And then he says, do you see Lat and Uzza? وَمَنَاةَ الثَّالِثَةَ الْأُخْرَى, and Manat, the third goddess, the other. So something that comes to mind here is, Quran is really naming some idols, some historical idols. But what is the point with that? Because like today, Atik has nothing to do with Lat or Uzza, I guess, and he has not seen them. That's why in some interpretations they were taking this afara'aytum as have you considered, not necessarily seeing it with eyes, but have you thought about them? But within the framework as we have been taking it so far, still people claim that their faith is based on certain observations. Like, I don't believe unless I see, even they say. And that's why they say, I don't believe in God because I don't see God in the lab. But I do see the chemicals that I'm working with and what this is. And now Quran is saying, have you seen what you were saying, like Lat, Uzza, Manat, those things? So here my question is, the emphasis here is that Lat, Uzza, Manat, like these are female names. My question here is, why would, if we take it historically, people name their gods as females, number one. Number two, do we do it today? And what is the relevance of femaleness when it comes to a deity? What is the point? And how can I take it to myself? Do I consider like female gods, or what is that?
An objection I would have is that there are male gods.
In
Like
Greek,
and
yeah,
types of deeds.
In Greek mythology, they also have male gods too. But in here, Quran is mentioning 3 female gods.
So that makes it sound, specific to the Arab people, not me myself.
Cool. But in Greek mythology, it applies to there too, because in the sense that they have male gods and they have wives or female counterparts. So the same logic applies there too. What is it about this femaleness? In today, even we use it, don't we? What do we say? Mother Nature, we say. Yes.
I guess I was thinking in terms of like reproduction, like the idea of like fertility is happening. So even Mother Nature, I guess that like it's giving something, right? Like you're like, oh, Mother Nature is gonna bless us with XYZ, but this idea of like reproducing something is associated with the female.
Yep.
Which could be why you can idolize, because if you see something like a woman can create maybe another human being, you see that action, you can end up idolizing that. I'm just giving an example, but
yeah, exactly. And this is like in anthropology, like in Turkey, I was observing some sort of like if you go to museums, there are woman-shaped, but a pregnant woman-shaped goddesses, like idols, Allahs in there. And as I was reading about it, they say this is not specific to Anatolian region, but this is how people attribute divinity, because woman gives birth and things are coming into being. So they say they imagine some sort of a goddess which creates. So in this case, Quran is bringing this to our attention, saying that this is your idea of a God, something that gives birth to. What's the distinction between a creating God versus a God that gives birth to? What is the distinction between the two? Any idea? We talked about this before, but let's see if the students were paying attention. A creating God versus a God that gives birth to. What's the distinction?
Maybe they can relate to God giving birth to. Maybe they can relate to that aspect of giving birth. They can't see how something is just created from nothing.
Creating from nothing versus, so is it like there is something and then, but in this case, God is creating from nothing. When we say creating from nothing, what does it mean? Mother takes something and gives out something. Yeah.
I remember it more in terms of thinking like sequentially versus like every moment being created. So if I'm like if a woman is giving birth and I'm thinking of that like as a process after she gives birth versus like at each point, like from the moment whatever like baby beginning happened to that end, every single point of that is being created. That's very different than like somebody just giving birth and like, oh, that person created a child. It's focuses more on like the outcome of that thing, I think, rather than the process in which that thing came to be. So I guess it's the distinction that.
Okay, so when it's mother-child relationship, you're seeing a process, the emphasis being on the process.
Yes.
In the creation, the focus is on the outcome, not the origin.
Wait, repeat that word.
So when it comes to the creation, the emphasis is on the outcome, which is the created being. Is this?
I think it's the opposite is
Okay.
how I thought of it.
Okay.
If it's the creation, it's like each point is being created versus if it's like, in terms of, I guess I was thinking like as the creator, right?
Okay.
Like, versus like a goddess and I'm observing something, I'm actually paying attention to the outcome. Like, I don't know how it happened. I just know that there was a process that occurred and now something is manifested and whatever that thing is, I admire like the outcome of that thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Sorry.
Something else you mentioned about is learning about was like, the fact that the quality of giving birth kind of suggests something finite. So if, and also like, when we think about giving birth, we see that like the child might share some qualities from like the parents. But that isn't the case with like what we would envision for the creator. So I guess sort of seeing this like before and after with like the process of giving birth, that doesn't like match to what the creator.
Yep. So in the case of a mother giving birth to the creation, and we talked about Surah Al-Ikhlas, in there we also talked about he is not given birth to, nor does he give birth to anything. So in this case, we are talking about the creator as a singular entity, but this points us to the idea, like, why does God negate something that's self-evident? Like God doesn't give birth to anybody, or he was not given birth to, because there's this notion of, which shows itself in our actions of naming goddesses throughout the history, even today. We do observe something new coming into being, but we feel like something similar to it gave birth to this. This is why the originator should resemble the outcome. This is the idea that we have. If you read it from the reverse, the outcome shares divine properties of the origin. Does this make sense? Like the idea is, I would like to be a little bit of a God myself. Because I would like to claim I am strong. Like, I mean, nobody, apparently, like no losers like myself, or if anybody would like to take the title of loser to themselves, would all, of course, claim and say that I am a little bit of a God. But once you start practicing some power over someone, which could be your child for the first time, or if you are a boss or whatever, or even if you are this young person like Atik and trying to exercise some sort of a power towards mom and saying that, no, what I say is right, not yours, okay, this stubborn child, this idea of I am is sharing this notion of I control something, I own something. To legitimize this, to convince myself that this is true, I have to propagate it to somewhere. Because if Atik says such, and his mom says, no, no, I gave birth to you. Now, because the mom's suggestion is, I am your Lord, I mean, not necessarily for your mom, but generally speaking. So if he wants to take something to himself, he would say that, oh, my mom had portion of it, now I have portion of it, it's now mine. So this idea of sharing divinity, this is why there's this notion of mother nature. The creation and the originator share the same nature. This is the idea. They share the same nature. It gives birth to, and then the creator in this case is mother, whatever, nature, mother, Lat, mother, Uzza, whatever it is. And then the outcome is going to be the mother of the next thing that will come. So it shares some divinity. But what is the point? I mean, the point in here is not really to identify these gods over here and there. Why would people come up with such a notion? Where does this reflex come from? I would like to get some sort of a divinity for myself. Human ego wants to claim some divinity for themselves. But you cannot stop there. You cannot only say, well, there's one God up there and one God in here. All the rest of you guys are just nothing. If I am saying that I am partially God, I have to say that Mustafa is also some sort of a God within his territory. I have to distribute divinity to everything. I cannot stop just taking it for myself. Hence, naming their gods as females is a conclusion, as a outcome of claiming divinity for yourself. I mean, it sounds very pious for those people to go and bow before those goddesses. But actually what's happening is I bow to myself, because this is the cost of bowing to myself. Bowing to a goddess is the cost of claiming divinity within my territory. Yes.
Wait, can you give an example? Because I don't think I'm understanding.
Okay. So in today's society, you say Mother Nature. Even if you are a scientist, you will call it a Mother Nature. Like a scientist who is working in the lab and who claims that laws govern it, this governs it, that governs it. If they would like to express it in layman's term, they would say Mother Nature. Meaning laws create this, things just come together and a new chemical happens to be, comes into being. In this case, what is the mother of, let's say, water molecule? The mother of water molecule is hydrogen and oxygen. They come together and create water. So this is their mother. This is their originator, creator. But why do we say such a thing? Because Quran will start talking about this is nothing but names. This is nothing but your conjectures. This is just your one. You just consider it to be as such. They are not real, Quran will say. Despite this being the case, why would someone, a professor, today in the laboratory would say that No, hydrogen and oxygen forms water. Electricity converts into light. We say this. And in this case, electricity is being the pregnant woman, if you like, in that analogy, who gives birth to the light. Why would we think as such? Why would human say that this is the cause of this result, if we think about it? And for that, we need to think about human ego. Why would somebody do that? Why, what motivates you to say this outcome?
Or you mean Mother Nature? Like why associate mother to nature?
Why associate the outcome, which in this example is, let's say, light, with electricity? Why do we say electricity gives birth to light?
I thought it was like physical observation and our desire supposedly to find some sort of solution to what we're observing, let's say, and putting a name on it would kind of make us feel like at least we understood the process. It's how I took it.
Is it?
This is the transference of properties, you know, you can say electricity has this property and then light has this similar property, and so it's derived from the.
Okay. Let's talk about that. Is it? It looks like more people are believing in An-Najm. Let's see who else.
Wait.
I mean, we're joking, just to steer the environment a little bit.
Because like, if I see that observation, like if I, now I said, I'll just finish that.
Okay.
This already sounded in my head, but like, I made the electricity, right? Like somebody found supposedly and figured out how to do it. And then we contributed that findings to a person.
Mhm.
So is that what you mean by like share? Like there's some sort of, like somebody found how to fly things or the mechanism in which stay in the sky for a long duration. And then
Okay.
we give that person that credit.
Mhm.
Like, is that the distribution of how you're talking about? Because I think like that's where I'm lost.
Yeah. So, for example, if I say I'm going to give a perfect example, assume, and I gave the most beautiful example, and everybody said, "Wow, now it makes perfect sense." Okay, and then I say I gave that example. Now I'm attributing the creation or giving birth to the beautiful example to myself. So I am the mother of this example, and you see the outcome, and you praise me for my child, which thought in this case.
But we see it coming from you, like you said, light and electricity. We said, why do you attribute light to electricity? Because from what we physically see or physically know, that we use, like, let's say charcoal or whatever to make electricity, which can be used to make light. So we see that connection. So
Yes, we see connection of what? Idea is apparently coming out of me, right? If you were to observe a camel coming out of a stone, what would you say?
crazy.
But you see that the camel is walking out of the rock. What's wrong with that? You see that the rock is there, camel is here. Why is it crazy?
You say it's impossible. Like
What?
we are not used to observing it.
You're not used to is different than it's impossible, isn't it? You're just seeing it for the first time. Let it be. Like seeing it 100 times, would seeing it 100 times make it more possible? You guess so?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Precisely, you see it happening every single time that you observe. Even though you could say there's a possibility that the next time it doesn't happen the same way, unless I observe it not happening the same way, wouldn't I naturally believe that it was
Yeah, this is what we say. That's what we say. But now we are discussing whether this is legitimate or not. But we are at a good point. Yes, sorry.
I guess so, just because things happen consistently in a sequence, doesn't mean that the first thing in that sequence is causing the next step of that sequence, is what I'm understanding. So just because we see when we, for example, turn on this switch and the light comes on, that doesn't mean there's like a sequence of events that's happening, but we wouldn't say the switch is what is producing the light. So I suppose if I think about it like that, or if I push a button and the TV turns on, like the button didn't produce this like image on the TV, or like have any sort of share in like creating the like words on the screen, is another example.
Yeah. Well, the reason you would say that it's not possible is because there's no relationship between rock and camel. Like in rock, there are a lot of like rock dust, let's say, but no water, no life, no nothing. In the camel, there is life, there is water. So you say, well, something is missing. It's not balancing. That's why you say it's impossible. And we need to ask the very same question. When a brilliant idea comes from your mind, my mind, apparently, because my mind was blank, I said, oh, a brilliant idea. Let me give you an example. Where did this brilliant idea come from? I should ask. We're having a comment there.
I remember in our like discussion, talked about how we think about, let's take a rock as an example, whether it has any ability to give rise to something. Animal, we can't like figure out that there is nothing that by itself that it has any ability or something. So if we reflect on it, we can see it. But it's the only difference between someone who's not just making this linear connection and someone who's recognizing that for that rock and that camel to exist, everything has to exist together. Is it just the thought and the reflection on that relationship that's the only difference between these two? Or like the only thing missing between someone who's able to see that there is no like connection, a linear connection, like by nature, for example, versus this is a marker or a signature of one creator. There's just the thought and the reflection that's going into that same observation.
The way Quran names it is, it's a name that you name it. And by naming it, you think as if you explained everything. So you see the rock, camel comes out of it, and you call it, oh, the law of rock making. I mean, you give it a name. You call it gravity. You call it some name. If we were consistently observing camels coming out of rocks, we would call it rock-o-camel law or something like this. We would name it a name because we kept seeing it. And then we would think that we explained the phenomenon. But the gist of why we call it female names in here tells us something, because we really want to think that rock gives birth to the camel. My brain gives birth to those ideas so that I can claim ownership or take credit for myself. The goal is, I have a, beef in there. This was what I learned from you. I have some gain out of calling deities as female names, because there's the reproduction, but I have a reproduction. I am producing something too, I would like to say. I don't want you to praise God for my examples. They're my examples. I put them forth. Praise me for them. This is what there's this desire in me which wants to be praised for things that apparently come out of me. I don't want to think that I am a rock which doesn't create anything. I would like to say that, no, I am an able force which has divine powers. No, Abir?
I mean, I don't know. This is just something
So
that
you don't want to be a god?
maybe that
Okay.
this going up what we're talking about. This idea is not from me. It's from God. But what if? Because I heard of a
Just to be
story.
on the safe side.
I heard a story of I think Khalid ibn Walid. He, after they went into Mecca, he went over and he destroyed an idol, right? He came back to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Are you sure you killed it? Like, or to go back and check it."
3 times, yeah.
And when he went back, he saw like a old woman that attacked him and he killed it. So, I mean, another answer to that question could be, a jinn could have twisted a human's mind and, made it to do something foul. It might have known that, God isn't male or female, but he refers to himself as he. So making people bow down to a she would have been humiliating. So it might, I don't know if it would have been what you're saying it would have been.
I mean, that could be. But this type of reading depends on this. As I'll take you back to our discussions on Friday. So we started with what is Quran, what is Quran, what is Quran. So Quran is speech of your creator to you right now. You can benefit from the narration, and you should benefit from the narration about Khalid ibn Walid smashing an idol and a female jinn coming out of it. And Khalid ibn Walid slayed her. And Prophet said people were worshiping her so far, and they won't worship her anymore. This is how the narration is. But what does it mean to me today? There is this female idol today. And I have those female idols in our world. I shouldn't be saying that, no, this is only talking about 14th centuries ago Meccans, or this is talking about just the guys in some laboratory in UPenn or whatever. To what extent this applies to me is what I am concerned about. From the narration of Khalid ibn Walid, I should ask the question, then in my life, where are those female jinns? This is what I'm trying to see here. Otherwise, verses becomes not so much relevant to me. But if I try to take it as such, every verse becomes my creator speaking to me, if you like, by looking at me in the eye. I'm telling it to you, Abir.
Okay, so by going what you said, right, let's forego the point that they're females, right? So
Okay.
why would they name female jinns or female gods and then still, like, where does Allah fit into this? Why, I'm just having a hard time understanding this.
Where does what fit in here?
Because you're saying they name these idols to feel acknowledged or whatever, to praise their ego. So why would they even believe in Allah in the first place?
Well, take it this
Why
way.
not just believe the idols, is what I'm saying.
They basically do.
Well, okay, let's take it this way. If I say I'm a strong person, to get some credit to myself, right? But I know that I don't know anything about medicine. So I'm not an all-knowledgeable person. I acknowledge that. I just want to be, at least in this room, the best of computer scientists within that territory. Even I know that outside of this room, there are much better computer scientists, but I would like to enjoy the privilege of being the best computer scientist within this territory. But knowing this, I also know that I know nothing about medicine. And I say, he is the best of medicine people. Like, I am sharing divinity among people. So I would like to praise myself, and I would like you to bow to me when it comes to computer science. But I also know that I have to bow to somebody else when it comes to medicine. So this is what shirk means. Shirk means you are ascribing partners to the creator. So I give part of it to him, part of it to Atik, part of it to you. Because if I want to, this is the price we pay for avoiding Tawheed. Because I don't want to frustrate one creator, because I don't, like human, sometimes doesn't want to release this divinity, imaginary divinity. Abir, do you claim any divinity? What do you think?
No.
No? You're a perfect, beautiful, pious believer. What I'm understanding is probably you're not. Blame yourself and see whether you are claiming divinity here or there. When this verse says, أَرَأَيْتُمُ اللَّاتَ وَالْعُزَّى, the way I take this is, and by the way, Uzza here, they say this is like Lat, as a female version of Allat is Allah, but they make it as with a T, so a female divinity. Al-Uzza, Izza with a T, like making it female. So they say they were actually manipulating the names of the creator to make it female, but making it multiple. Like, let's take Izza here. When it comes to somebody playing with your nerves and making you get angry, okay? Are you going to shout at them because they are messing up with you? How dare you do this to me? Or are you going to be calm, but act towards them in the name of God? Which one kicks in first? How dare you mess up with me? Or how dare you mess up with the creation of God? Do you see yourself at such a moment? Do you see yourself as you, or do you see yourself as a creation of the creator? Which one kicks in first? Like when I'm driving, if a guy starts honking and does something wrong, I start driving fast. My wife says, calm down, calm down. At this moment, the guy insulted me as a driver, and I'm getting angry and starting to follow him fast. I'm not saying that, how dare you are insulting a sacred creation of the creator. Like I am a sacred creator. Because if I consider myself as a sacred creation of creator, I should be defending the rights of a sacred creation of my creator. Like this is why if somebody burns Quran, people, if they are sane, they would say, no, you cannot insult Quran because it's speech of my creator, right? You don't say it's my speech. You are saying that it's speech of the creator. That's why you cannot burn Quran. Now somebody is insulting creation of the creator. So you can be angry with this person because they're insulting creation of creator. But also you can say, how dare you insult me, I say. Like my izzah, my dignity kicks in, but it's my dignity. It's not creator's dignity, or I'm not trying to defend creator's dignity in this case. That means I might be having a share or claiming unintentionally divinity. This is why I should be putting blame on myself. What is the proper way of, and this is going to be the topic of, we should think about this ghadab, kuba ghadabiyya. So when we say اهدنا الصراط المستقيم for shahawiyya, ghadabiyya, aqliyya, when it comes to ghadabiyya, I'm getting angry with someone, right? On what basis am I getting angry with them? Is it an ego-driven getting angry? Or is it defending the izzah of the creator? Whose justice am I upholding? Am I doing it for humanity? Am I doing it because how dare you kill those innocent children? Am I defending the rights of the children? On which basis? Whose right am I defending? Do I see them as the creation of the creator and you're hurting the mercy of the creator? You cannot. Is this my attitude? Or I say, like, as humans, or some sort of, I mean, this is there when they say religion defines morality. On this basis, it's 100% true, on this basis. But if I can think about morality devoid of truth about its origin, which is divine names, then I can say, well, I don't believe in God yet. I'm going to chant for the freedom of like children in Gaza. On what basis do I put it? Anyways, for you, Abir, the homework assignment is blame yourself. Try to blame yourself to see, am I claiming divinity when I get angry or when I become happy? I should be reading the verses as they apply to me in the first place. Otherwise, why would my creator tell me that, look at the Lat and Uzza? Well, I mean, they don't even exist. They were shattered a long while ago. What am I going to look at? Look at the Lat and Uzza and Manat in your life. Zareen, you have something to say there?
Well, I guess it's kind of moving to the next slide.
Okay.
But I have a question. If we are taking like these sort of female idols, then why is it saying in the next verse, are yours of males in his females.
Mhm.
I guess it's like, from what I understood from the verse, in terms of like the historical context, like people of the time would prefer to have sons, but then they would ascribe like daughters to the creator. It's like, sort of, why are you preferring like the sons and then ascribing to the creator what you think is lesser than
Mm.
the son? But I guess if we're taking it in sequence with the previous three verses, it's not really making sense to me.
So I agree with that. I haven't thought about this, so let me be honest about that. And there will come more about this in the next couple verses, which will come as angels being named with female names, which might then be taken as these goddesses are being ascribed as partners to the creator. Because we don't call kafirs of Mecca, they are called mushriks of Mecca. Like they were ascribing partners because they believed in God, yet they believed in other gods as well, or goddesses in this case. So why is this ascribing partners happening in there? And in this case, I don't know how faith in that time was for, but even in today's world, when I say God created the Big Bang, and then things started working out by themselves. Or even you might hear somebody saying, oh, God created nature and now nature is functioning. Of course, you wouldn't say that, right? But one could say God created the fire, gave it the properties of it, and now fire is burning. This is identical to say that God created nature and now nature is functioning. Do you see the relationship between the two? God created fire, gave it the properties, and now fire is burning. What does this mean? God created the nature of fire as a burning entity, but now fire is burning, meaning fire is giving the birth to burnt, because burnt or burning something is the outcome of fire. So fire creates being burnt. So God created fire and gave it qualities of burning. So God was the mother of fire in this case, but now fire become a partner of God in creating some outcome. In this example, it's burning. So it's no different to say that God is the originator of certain things, and now those certain things are functioning. Or to give another example, which might sound a little more religious. God created such and such and such angels. Well, we are not calling them female names, but let's call them male names. Azrail, Jebrail, Mikael, Israfil. I name them male names now. And one of them takes life. One of them, maintains nature events. One of them brings down revelation. Another one is waiting to blow the horn. And he will blow the horn, and then resurrection will happen. By that, if I mean that God created them and gave them the qualities to act so, and now they are doing these outcomes, how much different is this than the previous two examples that I gave?
Can I say something, Yusuf? Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Okay, you can hear me, right?
Yes,
Well,
no. Yeah.
Oh, so I'm not sure if you are going to study this 21st ayah, فَلَكُمُ الذَّكَرُ وَلَهُ الْأُنثَى,
Well, go ahead.
separately. Related to the questions, and also when you mention the shirk, attributing the partners, I think there is also another aspect of these attributing partners, which comes with the division, right? As mentioned in this 21st and the 22nd ayahs, there's a division, like that this part is for God and this part is for ours. And so we do this in our life when we separate worldly life and religious life. Even like let's start with the atheist circles, let's say, or the secular. Let's not call them atheists, but the secular circles where religion has no place. Even there, people say, yeah, you are free to believe whatever you want, but your God only has your God rules only your personal life. When it comes to your personal issues, personal life, the family relationship, and so on and so forth, you can believe whatever you want. God has authority over there. But when it comes to our circle, when you are in university, for instance, or when you are in the workplace, right? There's no authority for God. So we have such divisions. So coming back to our circles now, the religious circles, what we do is we take religion as ruling over our, let's say, a certain part of the life when we worship, when we decide what to eat. But once we decide what to eat, whether it is haram or halal, let's say eating chicken, if it is slaughtered properly, it's halal, right? That much God has authority. That part of the eating chicken goes to God. But the rest, how I cook it, what seasoning I use, or how I eat it, whether I share it or not, it's mine. I decide, I rule there. Because there's no fiqh rule regulating how to eat chicken, right? At most, we say, okay, I will say Bismillah at the beginning and Alhamdulillah at the end, but the rest, it's mine. God has nothing to say with that part. So we have all these divisions. And I think these two ayahs also talking about these as well.
Jazakallah khair. So in this case, then we can say, as we commonly do, we say, oh, Big Bang belongs to God, like the origination, creation, and whatnot. Some sort of it is to him, but then some other parts I attribute it to myself. So and in practice, when it comes to my day-to-day activities, even as a religious person, I could compartmentalize it and say that, oh, these parts, God has a word to say about it, but some other parts of my life, I pretend as if I am the person to judge or to decide about them, and God has no authority over them. Like in the way that, like the common example that comes to my mind with that is, as I had this discussion with people, they would say, well, as Brother Wickham was mentioning, when it comes to social life, we will set the laws for that, not God. In your personal life, you can believe in what sort of a God, that's fine. But when it comes to your relationship with me, God cannot say a word on that. We, as the people, we will set the laws. Who manages this? And I guess in the Western civilization, this is the secularism saying that state is going to be separate than church, which in this example should signify word of God, which could be taken as the separation mentioned here.
Or like it could be as simple as, buying something, buying a car, buying a jacket,
Yeah.
right? None of them are haram. So what else are you expecting me to follow? Right, I would say. Like if somebody tells you, okay, you are buying this jacket, Yusuf, that's great. But don't you think this is a little bit extravagant, or I don't know, right? The way you are selecting your jacket, don't you think, go ahead, please.
You mean red car? Go ahead.
I was talking about the jacket. I don't have anything about red car, sorry. So when I start questioning, you will get angry. You would say, I mean, buying jacket is not a haram, and there's no rule about jackets anyway. So why you are talking about God at all? The God has nothing to do with the jacket choice that I have or the car. Like, why do you buy this car? And then I start talking about the religion, the Iman, and so on. You would get angry. You would say, oh, Birkan, you don't like my car. You're just using God as an excuse. As if there's no place for God there. Why you are talking about God?
Yeah. Jazakallah khairan. And now I would like to take it to naming them names. Why do we say that the camel coming from rock, and we kept seeing it? My fathers kept seeing it. I keep seeing it, and I call it a name. And I say, oh, it is the law of Camilo rock, something like that, to explain the phenomenon. The creator is saying here that it is nothing but a name upon which the creator did not reveal any authority. That name doesn't have any authority to give existence to camel out of rock. Do I agree with that? When it says it's gravity, just one word. Do I explain the phenomena? Well, let's make it a little longer and give the equation or whatever. Does this explain what is happening in there? Do I see it as nothing but naming?
Is there no connection at all?
Is there? What do you think?
I mean, when we go about, let's say adding, we say 2 plus 2 is 4. We see 4, there is definitely 2, and then there's definitely 2, and now there's definitely 4. Is that simply naming?
The mathematician behind you is looking in a weird way. So
Is it not?
let's not get into 2 plus 2. Let's
saying,
take something more tangible.
There's some sort of connection. They say E equals MC squared, right? I don't know how that works.
So let's talk about something that works for you. Okay, something that you know. Okay, so I put fire.
Sure.
And I put your hand on top of it.
Whoa.
And what happens?
Hot.
It's hot. It burns. And you keep saying the same thing, right? And you say, well, fire burns. Is there a relationship between the two? Definitely for you. It was always the birth came after the fire, right? But does this explain the fact that fire is burning your hand? Like you might come here and whatever I say, Atik starts smiling, right? Is it because I am saying something funny? Or is it because Atik wants to make fun of everything? But always whatever I say, Atik smiles. This is something that you kept observing. See, still smiling. Is this because I make very funny jokes and whatnot? Or Atik chooses to smile no matter what I say? Seeing one following the other each and every time. And I call it, oh, Yusuf is a very funny guy. But after we leave the room, Atik comes and says, he thinks he is so funny. And I was laughing at this. I was not laughing at his jokes. I was laughing at the fact that he thinks he is so funny. He is revealing the truth about why he is smiling.
Really funny guy.
He's revealing you the truth about why he is smiling. But the Mustafa, the poor observer, he says, oh, Yusuf makes a statement, Atik smiles. Another statement, Atik smiles. And he says, well, since making statement came before Atik smiling, it looks like Yusuf's statements has a power to make Atik smile, to create smile in Atik's face, right? But since you can make sense of my statements and Atik smiling, you said, well, there's nothing to smile in here. There must be something special about Atik, that he is choosing to smile because, because we are in the same room and I don't smile at that. So it doesn't have the same power over me. So probably it doesn't have the power over Atik either. Mustafa, what you are saying is just you made up a name. There's no such thing as Yusuf's jokes makes Atik laugh. It's something that you made up. It's Atik in this case, in this example, who chooses to laugh.
Can I?
Yeah, just a second. Quran is in this case making me question, is it anything more than a name? This is why we should take it personal, right? When Quran says you are just making up a name because you and your fathers kept saying the same thing and put a name, and you just borrowed that name from your parents and you kept telling the same.
But there are certain values to names. We can identify or observe that, yes, if I put my hand over this, it's gonna burn. So I'm not gonna say it inherently has this property and it caused it by itself, but I could say that it's hot. Is it not? I mean, it's
Is
hot.
it? Because what you exactly said is burning is the nature of fire.
I said it did not cause itself to. I said I can agree that it doesn't cause itself to be that, but I think there's a value to being able to identify something. So if I needed to tell somebody else, I can say, hey, that is hot, and they might understand. So I think there's a value to names. Is what
Okay.
I'm saying.
Okay, there's a value to names. Can I use the term that the verse is using? The thing has some sort of an authority. Value, you said value. In this verse, it's saying authority, Sultan. Sultan is there. So there is some authority of the fire on me because it is hot and it can burn, or not?
But I'm saying that I can agree that it doesn't have any authority on its own.
Okay. So, but some authority that's given to it, and now it's using it by itself. We'll get there. Think about it. Brother Birkan will talk and then I'll get into the room. Okay, Brother Birkan, keep it quick. There are 3 hands raised up in here.
Oh, no, please give priority to those they are already there.
Okay, yes, Zaha.
Actually, the same concept, no, like, because even with law of gravity, I can understand that it's not, it has no authority, it's just a name. But if I were to tell someone, like a child, if I were to tell, a kid to not play with fire, and they say, do I every time say, I observe burning coming out of the fire? Or will I just resort to saying fire is hot?
Okay, it depends on what the child will understand out of that. Okay, if the child will eventually think that fire is burning, then you better start changing your language, at least time to time. Like if, as you keep using the term fire is hot, don't touch it. If eventually your child will start thinking that it is fire that burns, then shouldn't you make a change at some point? And you can put yourself, your mom kept saying to you, fire is hot. And you are born into a world in which you really think that fire is burning you. So there was something wrong the way we use the language. But we use the language like this because we really thought like that, to be honest. Yeah.
You continue to use, like, if we, like a bit was saying, we recognize, taking that thought the next step, that it leads us to conclude that in itself fire doesn't have that innate ability. But like once I establish that, can I continue to use the same language?
You will, but not exactly the same anymore. Because time to time you will stop and say that, but it is not the fire who burns, what burns. You will feel the obligation to say that. This is why I am trying to stop Abir and say that this is not the case. Because we think, we are convinced God creates everything, but this is a very umbrella understanding. And its insides is void. Still, I get angry when somebody honks me in the traffic because this is my default state somehow. I ended up being in this default state that somebody insulted me and I get angry because they insulted me and I am valuable inherently. How dare you do that? Somebody needs to stop me and say that, who are you in the first place? Do you have an inherent value that you are getting angry with the God? I need to be stopped and reminded of that. As much as I'm conscious about it, to get some shortcuts in the conversation, go for it and use it. But if you realize that I am not there, you have to stop me and use the long sentence. Otherwise, I will start blaming fire. I will start praising nature, which becomes the thing. Like why people would say, oh, my sheikh is the best. But after the conversation, sheikh would say, if you saw some mistakes, it's from me. If you saw something beautiful, it's from the creator. Like, okay, of course, sheikh, we know that. But he keeps repeating this at the end of each of his speeches. Why would he say that? Like, after our discussions, we keep reciting, Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana. What's the point of that after each discussion? That's what angels said, right? We don't know anything other than what you taught us. Giving credit to the creator, not to myself. Because I am in need of this reminder. Not only we don't have the reminder, we don't have the understanding in the first place either. I think it's going to be very optimistic to think that, yes, now we understood. Everything is created by God every moment. Intellectual, I got that. Now let's switch back to our original day-to-day language. It rains. No, I should time to time say mercy. It's raining mercy, I should say, rather than saying it's raining. Because by just changing my language this much, when I say it's raining mercy, or oh, mercy is coming down, I'm reminding myself that it's not a natural phenomenon. It is that some merciful one is sending water droplets. This should be embedded into my language, but if the understanding is not there in the first place, does not go, I mean, even using those words would sound funny, first and foremost to myself. And I would feel like if I use this language, Atik is going to smile at me saying that, what the heck this guy is talking about? So out of my shyness, to not to look awkward, I will keep silent. So this is where we are. Let's face our reality. We are not very, very sure actually about the creator creating everything every moment. Because deep inside, my ego, I don't know about you, but my ego wants to take credit. My ego wants to say that I did this and the clouds are making the rain as a consequence of that. When you cook a good food and Atik comes and eats it, and if he doesn't acknowledge anything, he doesn't even say anything, he just eats it, enjoys it a lot, what would you say? Like, whoa, like, at least you expect some sort of a thanks. Or generally how it happens is, the salt was missing a little bit. You're just hinting to say that, no, actually the salt, everything was perfect. Like this is how it happens when I cook something. I say to Maryam, I think I put salt too much. She takes another bite. No, it's perfect. It's a reminder. Such comments are a reminder to say that you forgot to say something. Praise me. Catch yourself in such moments. And then realize that saying Alhamdulillah, this is the mercy of the Creator and such. This is how we can convert every action of our life into worship. Cooking can become a worship then, because you are then declaring, you can declare that He is the one who creates. Zareen had some comments.
The same
Same?
question about like the language.
Okay.
You answered it.
Okay. No. Okay, go ahead.
So instead of saying it's hot and attributing the fire to being hot, I would say God made it hot.
God is creating heat, you would say. But in your understanding, is it there? Language is very important, but in your understanding, is it there? Are you convinced? Because I'm not convinced that you are convinced, to be honest. Why?
I'm getting confused linguistically. I would say.
Forget
I know
about the
that
linguistics for now. Forget about the linguistics for a second. But as you said before, if you were to see the camel coming out of rock, you would say, wow, like it's what the heck is going on? But you started acting like I think you couldn't see too much next time. Okay, so but once seeing camel coming out of rock is something shocking to you, and no matter what name I put in there, you would say, no, like this doesn't make any sense. What's happening in here, right? But then when a fruit comes out of a tree, then you say, well, it is because of this and this and that. You put some names in there, but not only put names in there, you say because of these names caused them. DNA caused it. Spring caused it. Rain caused it. Is being the understanding here. And this is the bothersome portion.
So two things, right? So instead of saying the fruit is coming from the tree, I'd say Allah is making a fruit. All right, and then the second part would be, would it be wrong to say Allah is making the fruit by giving this tree rain or water and it's growing and that's how the fruit is made? Or
yeah, this is why in the verse we sent down rain, we extracted the tree, we put the fruit. Stage by stage, creator would say, we did this, we did this, we did this. Oh God, just explain it as stages and say that, oh, like we did the very first thing. We created the seed and then tree came out of it, fruit came out of it. It's not the language. We did this, we did this. Quran keeps emphasizing we did this, we did this. In my perception, do I see the creator at every stage of the creation? Do not mix our internal conception of piety and religiosity. Of course, I'm the best of the believers among you guys, right? I mean, that's the perception. I don't have any doubt about God. We tend to say. Do I ascribe any partners for God? No, astaghfirullah. Of course, he's the one and only creator, I would say. But when it comes to my practical life, I do ascribe partners to the creator. This is why creator keeps warning against this. If I think I don't, something is wrong with me. I am sure about that. Like, not to blame you, Abir, but to blame you, yes. We are ascribing partners to the creator. This is why Quran again and again and again says La ilaha illallah. If I don't, why are you repeating that? Like, Abir, if I tell to you, be respectful to Atiq, be respectful to Atiq, be respectful to Atiq 100 times. But if you're already 100% respectful to Atiq, wouldn't you say, are you crazy? I got it. I'm very respectful to Atiq. What's wrong with you? Why do you keep repeating that? You should rather say, the guy sees some disrespect in me. This is why he keeps repeating me, be respectful to Atiq. The creator keeps telling you, don't ascribe partners to me. Don't ascribe partners to me. And still I say, no, I don't ascribe partners to God at all. So this is where I should take the blame to myself so that I can start seeing where I am ascribing partners to the creator. I mean, generally we get nervous when such a thing happens because ascribing partners to God means you're going to hell, or like, astaghfirullah, I'm not going to hell, I would like to say. Inshallah. But I should rather be praying for that, putting active effort for that. If I keep repeating to my classroom, don't be lazy, due date is here, don't be lazy, due date is here, because I do see them, they are slacking. And I'm warning them against this repetitively. They shouldn't be saying, oh, the professor is talking about Mustafa, he's the slacking guy. I don't take it to myself. The creator is much more wise than a regular teacher you think about. And in this verse, he is talking to me, but also he's talking to you. And he's talking to an atheist, and he's talking to some Christian or Jew over there, every human being, but also to me, with the same strength. I need to take it personal. And in this case, I was hoping to go through another 10 verses, but inshallah next week. So, but in this case, it is saying that you are putting names, but nothing else. And thinking that those names are acting. And going back to the question that Zaha raised, and Zareen also had the same question as Abir had. Do they have a role? Do they have a value? This is exactly what I am implying, and eventually it's getting embedded in me. I really start thinking that they have some sort of a value. I'm not going to use the word value. Quran uses the word authority, because this eventually converts into that really. I really start thinking that those things that I name has some sort of an authority, which means they are active agents to a certain sense, to a certain degree. If you ask me, of course I say there's God, but this also does something in there. Yes, Atik with a smiling face. Something is coming out. Go ahead.
So, I mean, if you believe nothing has authority or that nothing can share authority with our creator, does that mean we shouldn't respect any authority?
There it comes from Atik. Okay. Brother Birkan, would you like to conclude, inshallah?
Let me conclude with the question, since we don't have the time. So when Ayah says Allah didn't send down any authority, ma anzal Allahu biha min sultan. So, like I'm asking the question, what does it mean that God sending down some authority? And then the way it is concluded, and now he brings and now comes the guidance from your Lord. So I'm trying to understand these two things. Like, what does it mean? Is some names having authority, some other names not having authority? How it is revealed to me, how it is sent down to me? Because it's obviously, it doesn't matter whether this naming system I have is consistent or not. It doesn't matter, Ayah says. Whether you love these names, whether you've been keep hearing them from your fathers, all these generations. This is how I read it, the fathers. All the generations of scientists, all the generations of the philosopher, artists, whatever, politicians, keep using them, but it's still not enough. Allah should send down some authority, or take it from my perspective, how am I going to know whether they have some authority or not? How am I going to know that? So that's the question.
Okay. What does it mean? So I'm trying to summarize the question. What does it mean that God reveals authority over something? If these are nothing but names, then what is with authority? Or is there anything with authority in this existence? Is the question that Birkan asked, as far as I understand. Just one anecdote on top of this question, as I took a note here. يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا one. So the way Quran is describing it is, they call it nothing but name, and they follow their conjecture, their one. I suppose this is what one means. I suppose this is what it is like, so I will go after this. Is today's science supposition? Do I take it as such? Because science claims to be the exact opposite. It is the objective truth. We do the E equals MC square, right? Mm-hmm. It's observation. It's not one. Unless proven wrong, it's not one. Right? So in the following verses, a very similar theme will keep going. Quran will keep raising the point about this conjecturing, following the whims. And we'll put what, now that we need to connect it to what came before. Prophetic journey. Quran is putting prophetic journey as the concrete, confirmable truth, and saying what you have at your hand is nothing but names and conjectures. Is this our reality? Would be, inshallah, next week's topic. And when it comes to me internally, Am I feeling like the prophet? If I follow prophetic journey, what I find will be strong, stone-like proofs. But what I hear from scientists is a conjecture. Do I see it as such? Or still I go with the propaganda of science is giving me the positive, provable results. Where does proof lie? Would be, inshallah, next week's topic. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة